Hello and welcome to level 63 of the Thoughts and Players podcast, the gaming podcast with bold takes and no strings attached. I am Jeremy, here with one compadre, but most would argue the most important. That is David.
What up?
What is up? How is your evening going?
It's been going all right. I
Yeah,
got in a couple of games since we delayed a half hour, so that's pretty cool.
nice,
How's
nice.
yours been?
It's been a little bit, hectic, but I was able to do some grilling, barbecued some chicken,
Ooh,
so was able to
yeah, can't
have
wait for
that.
your food again.
Yeah, I know, right? We gotta schedule some stuff up. I figured, full disclosure, everyone, because we're going to be talking about our private plans for a little bit here. I was originally anticipating doing something towards the end of this month, and then was informed that towards the end of this month is Memorial Day. I
Is it?
think, like maybe like the 29th or something.
Huh.
So I may end up having to push into June just to make sure everyone's a bit
Okay.
more clear with the schedule. But yes, I'm looking forward to doing that too. I've got a plan. I'm already kind of concocting the menu in mind. I want to do like a pulled pork. You've had pulled pork before, right?
Oh yeah, I love pulled pork.
Yeah, I'm thinking about now. Usually, let's just talk barbecue for 5 minutes. Usually, what I will do is I'll put the binder on it with some mustard and then hit it with some rubs. I use a lot of Meat Church rubs, but I also use some rubs by Heath Riles. He has a cherry rub that is really good, and I like using that. But something that my girlfriend was telling me her dad did with some ribs that came out really good is that he brined the ribs. Now I've brined like turkey and stuff before, but I've never brined pork. So my plan is going to try it out for that day is to get, I don't know, an 8, 10, 12 pound pork shoulder, brine it for like 24 hours, and then take it out, hit it with the binder and the rub, see if it keeps it juicy, if it keeps the flavors in there. That's what I'm going to be trying to plan to do, as well as doing some other more basic stuff like hot dogs, hamburgers, stuff like that.
Right.
But that's the hope and plan. So yeah, and then
I
other,
just ate and I'm hungry again now.
yeah, I mean, me too. And they'll have some other dishes with it, but yeah. So that's pretty much been it though for barbecuing. But I haven't played any games today, but since we're going to be talking about it, let's go ahead and just jump to what we have been playing. So you said that you're able to play some games before we started. What have you been playing, I guess, besides that? Has there been any Vampire Survivor mixed in there?
Funny enough, no. And
Ah,
I'll tell you why.
okay.
So in Vampire Survivors, if you die and you don't have any more revives, you can watch an ad, right? It gets you a free revive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's this one interactive ad that would come up often, and you have your own little restaurant, you have to serve your customers, whatever, and you upgrade your machinery and stuff.
Yeah.
I downloaded that game, and I have not
Uh,
stopped playing it, and it is upsetting my girlfriend.
that's
Because,
how they
like,
hook
every
you.
so often, I'll just check my phone to collect the tips and stuff and upgrade the machines, and she's like, "You're still playing that game?"
Oh yeah.
Because it is really stupid, but it's just easy. Like you don't lose. You just upgrade machines and collect money and fly to a different city and do it all over again.
So you're
Well,
like you're
it's
kind of like
eat
a
venture,
serial restaurateur. Is that essentially it? Like you're opening up these
basically.
restaurants and
Yeah,
okay, that's pretty cool. I could
yeah.
I could see losing some time at something like that. That's how I got. I mean, a much less complex, engaging game, but that's how I got hooked in the ball sword. Okay, originally I was playing Wordle or whatever,
Oh
some
my
crap.
God, we used to play Wordle every
Yeah, I
day.
was playing something like that, and the ball sword ad came up, and I'm like, matching same color matching balls into a tube. That weirdly sounds amusing. And then
Oh, the
boom,
one you
bada
had to like
boom.
sort them and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh,
Yeah, and I was in it for a minute, for a good minute. I think I can't remember because I also played Tetris on my phone, so I can't remember if it was from that game or a different game, but I got mixed up into it. Yeah, that was it's unfortunate amount of time invested in the boss one.
Yeah, but it just feels so good to like complete it. Like, that's why I think I'm addicted to this game. Like, oh yeah, I matched out this machine, cool. Now I can match out the next one, and it's like this is literally pointless.
But this, you know what? I mean, that sounds like a lot of like tycoon and sim games. You know what I'm saying? Which is like my jam. That's usually what I get into, except that it's almost kind of like real life. There's never ending things you have to do and reinvestments you have to make. And then, like I said, with certain games, now they added taxes, so I get to have the anxiety of paying taxes in real life and in my game, which is always great.
Because real life anxiety for it is not enough.
Right. But very sounds like a cool game. I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, Eat Venture.
Eat Venture. Okay.
Yes.
Got you. What else have you been mostly just getting into the cell phone games or what's some other stuff you've been getting into?
Well, the Apex season 17 started on Tuesday, yesterday. Okay. So I've only played a handful of games. I haven't had much time lately.
Yeah.
But besides that, yeah, mostly phone stuff, because when I have downtime at work, that's when I can do it.
Right, can pop in.
Yeah.
Quick 3-5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it pretty easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see, games I've been playing. Well, I'm still playing Kena, whatever you call it, Bridge of Spirits. I'm close to the end. I checked my percentage. I'm like 84%, and I've got about 7 hours. I've looked it up. It's about an 8 to 10 hour game, so I know I'm pretty close. One thing I realized with that game, and kind of like with Hellblade, now I'm more set on beating this compared to Hellblade, because I'm just more conscious of the fact that I don't beat games, so I'm really trying to push myself. But the action and all that stuff is like really engaging, but you got to do all those puzzles to get there. And even though the puzzles aren't like complex, it's a fairly easy game. Your boy just hate puzzles, man. I just hate them with a passion. and so it's been somewhat of a struggle. I would say in regards of like a motivational struggle to go ahead and finish it, but I am going to finish it because I'm so close to beating it. It'd be nice to have another game beat on my list. Right. So I've been playing that, and I have been playing a little bit of South Park: The Stick of Truth, which is the first RPG thing they did with Ubisoft. I got into that because I was trying to find something else to play on my Steam Deck. So I was playing that a little bit, and then I played a teeny bit of No Man's Sky. Trying to get back into that. Because
haven't they updated that a lot? Wasn't that game like awful at launch or whatever?
Yeah, they've provided like a ton of updates.
That's and
cool. The game is like, it's actually like a really, really good game. I bought it at launch. I know how bad it was. I know how angry people were, but it's a really, really good game now. All the different starships you can buy and the base building and different things like that, and the different challenges you can make and how you can customize your gameplay. Like, it's really good. So I dove into that a little bit, but I'd say I've probably been spending much more time on Kena Bridge of Spirits, trying to get that knocked out, so then I can move on to my next game and have my next game to focus on. So my girlfriend's been out of town. She took the Xbox with her, so that way she can play Hogwarts. I have another Xbox, but it's upstairs. I just don't feel like being upstairs. So that's part of the reason why I have my PlayStation 5. And I can also play the Xbox, the games that I'm playing on PC. So I haven't been playing any Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom. I haven't been playing that as much, but I do anticipate going back to that and playing that and beating that, even though that's a much larger time investment. I think that's like 20, 30 hours. But
dang,
once I get Kena knocked out, I might go back to an old game like I've kind of done. I might explore a new game. I found a bag that I had of games I bought from GameStop, and I forgot I had that many games in there. So like I remembered that I bought Days Gone, and I remembered that I bought Tina's Tiny Wonderland. I forgot that I bought Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I forgot that I bought. Oh, what was some other game? I forgot that I bought Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Like I forgot that I bought like 2 or 3 different games, and I'm like,
Wow.
okay, well here we go. This is another thing that we gotta attack, but we'll get it solved. So yeah, and I've
That's
got
crazy. Just forget that you bought quite a few games.
bought them like almost a year ago, and they've just been in a bag. You know? Yeah,
Present to yourself from the past.
exactly. Yeah, but yeah, it's not too hard for me to think that I would probably forget that I bought something from GameStop because I'm so used to buying games, either ordering them online or buying them digitally. That
Right.
the once in a while stop I made into GameStop, I kind of gets lost in
Yeah.
memory. Yeah,
And half the time you're not even buying a game, you'll buy like a Funko or something else, you know?
yeah, yeah.
Like and that's not even their main selling point anymore, video games.
Right. It's kind of like embracing nerd or geek culture type of thing now, right?
Right. And
Yeah.
like speaking of GameStop and stuff, like how relevant is like a brick and mortar game store nowadays? You know, like GameStop is mostly a meme to most people.
Yeah.
And the cool ones have like older stuff, which I understand. But
Hmm.
GameStop sells newer stuff and stuff they've bought from people.
Right.
And most people get, their collector editions like online, or you can go to Best Buy or Walmart or Meijer,
Hmm.
wherever big chain stores usually carry video games and stuff. It almost
Right.
makes the little corner store that has video games moot.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting. It's like I feel like for like a game store like a GameStop, right? I don't know where the relevance really is. Very little now, and especially like going forward, because like I would say the only value that a GameStop really offers is that if you want to sell a used game,
For $3.
you can go there, you'll get ripped off for sure, right? That's they've been doing that for years,
For
and I think that's
years.
partially impacted like their image and why people are like more or less likely to go there because they feel like I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna get ripped off. They're gonna give me $12 for this game. They're gonna turn around and sell it for $55, and they do that. Okay,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
but if you're someone that isn't in a spot where you want to chase down someone, if you just need some cash and you've got a few games, hey, I beat a couple of games over the weekend, or I beat this game or something like that, maybe I can grab 20-25 bucks real quick, then you can go ahead and do that. Like the GameStop that's closest to me is in a little strip mall area, and it's right next to a Starbucks. So you can
Oh, I
easily
think I know
say,
which one you're
hey,
talking about.
yeah, you can easily go in there. I'm gonna go ahead and give you, I don't know, Zelda. Okay, we'll give you 27 bucks for it. All right, cool. I get 27 bucks. That gives me $7 for a coffee. I can drive right around here and get a Starbucks coffee, or maybe $20 because who knows.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I got money to go to the Chipotle down the street and grab a bowl. I don't know what you do, but there's some value in that. But also, if you think about, so there's another place and we kind of mentioned like pre-show, Disc Replay, which
Mhm.
also buys used games, but they also have like older stuff. So like if
Yeah,
you
they
want to
have
buy
like the
it,
old
yeah, if you want to
stuff.
buy an NES or Sega Genesis or something like that, they have those things there. That's kind of when I'm trading in or selling games. That's kind of where I usually end up going
That's where
now
I would want to go. Yeah.
because they give you more for it. Obviously, if you're going to trade it in and for credit or whatever,
Hmm.
but you can keep it in the ecosystem. And I've had before. I remember I went to a disc replay and I traded in a bunch of old games that I didn't need anymore, and I got like $80-$90 for it. And I was like, YOLO it. I know that's like a 2012 reference, but YOLO, I'm gonna YOLO on this original Xbox. I want original Xbox. So I bought an original Xbox and I bought like Halo 2 and a couple things like that, like so that place kind of provides value because you can pivot in different areas. With GameStop, it's either, hey, we're going to give you not that much for it, we're going to oversell it, and then you can buy a Funko Pop like statue or whatever, or you can buy a shirt, or you can buy, whatever other collectible weird thing that they have there, right? Like
Right.
You can get other games if you want, but again, those games are at a markup.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? It's like it's crazy, like the idea that you could, if you take a new release. So for instance, I mean, you're not going to trade in Redfall because no one owns that game. But let's say it's God of War Ragnarok, right? It's crazy to me that you could trade in God of War Ragnarok, and the money you get for it is like a fraction of what you would have to pay to buy it used, not new, used.
Right.
Like you may trade it in and get like the game retails at 70, they may sell it used for what, $60. You may
Yeah,
trade
I
it
was
in
gonna
and
say
get
55. Yeah.
yeah, you may trade it in and get $20 for it.
Yep.
So I got to trade you in 3 used God of Wars to get 1 used one buffing. Like just the profit and margins and all that stuff is crazy. So I mean, I don't know how
Right.
much relevance it has because games that kind of lean into older retro gaming, they have the market on them, they have the jump on them. GameStop doesn't do that stuff anymore,
Yeah, it's
right?
more enticing to go to disc replay because
Yeah,
there's a lot more stuff that might catch your eye.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and plus, like I mean, like Disc Replay also sells other things besides the
Yeah,
games,
I've
but
seen
they're
graphics cards,
yeah,
microphones,
yeah,
laptops,
weird stuff like that. And then of course they
DVDs.
sell tons of DVDs.
Yeah, it's insane. They have
Yeah,
copies and copies of freaking everything, and it's
yeah,
like 3 for $5, and they're really cheap.
yeah. I freaking go in there and I'm like, get all this, and you just breeze by the DVD wall, and it's full of these old. And I'm like, well, these guys got a DVD of Serpico. Like, what's going on here? Like there's way more things you can do in a place like that. But then the alternative of it is right, like Best Buy again provides that kind of like customer service of being able to go there and buy a game. You're not
Hmm.
really trying to get upsold on a lot of things, but you can also go. It has other values of like going there to get other stuff, right? It's an electronics store, so
Right.
you can have the value of, hey, I just got this brand new game for my system. Maybe I want to go ahead and get a TV to go with it, right? Like they're trying to sell like LED 4K 120 hertz that kind of like can play at the frame rate these new consoles are. So I can go in there and ask about that and get different value there, right? Or like you said, like a Meyer or a Walmart or something where it's like, hey, I can trade in this game and also I can grab some Cheez-Its or something like that.
Right.
Just different things that can add value to your shopping experience besides what GameStop offers, which is just markups on used games, low value to sell them games, and then just a bunch of collectibles that generally depreciate in value immensely once you leave the store. So
Yeah, I was just saying, as soon as you're out that door,
yeah,
down.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is GameStop is a meme. I know Wall Street Bets like a year and a half, 2 years ago, like
That was
we're
funny,
going
honestly.
to send GameStop to the moon. It was hilarious, right? And it kind of saved the company a little bit.
It did.
Yes, I don't know how much longer they got or where they're pivoting
I
to.
mean, either because I feel like at least GameStop, maybe not the ones that are selling older stuff like this replay, is gonna turn into like Blockbuster or Family Video. Like it's really becoming irrelevant.
Yeah. R.I.P. Family Video. That one hurts.
Yeah, that's where I always used to go.
Yeah. I remember towards the end they pivoted to selling CBD products. That was hilarious.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, you go in there and they're like, yeah, I want to go in here and rent me and like I don't know, me, myself, and Marley or whatever the heck it is. And it's like, oh yeah, do you want some CBD oil to calm your anxiety while you watch this movie? It's like, no, thank you. I just want the movie. I don't want to come in here to rent this movie for $1.25 and then pay $20 for CBD oil. I'm not interested in that.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, but it could go the way of, I think it very much will end up going that way, which is crazy if you think about all the different GameStop stores. I mean, there's GameStop stores everywhere. They're almost
there's two
as
of them in that one
pervasive.
corner that you were talking about.
Oh yeah. Well, there's like, what is there, like 4 or 5 within a mile or 2-mile radius of that area. Because there's that one. There's one across the street in a different strip mall. There's one down the street in a different strip mall that's next to a Target, right?
Yeah.
It's buried back there, but it's there.
It's in the corner.
Yeah. And then there's one like further, like several miles down on Gratiot. So yeah, it's so many of them. And it's like, guy, you need all these? And I go in there and they're usually pretty empty.
That reminds me, because I was going to talk about it, but completely forgot about it until you mentioned that spot because
Yeah.
what was it? EB Games
Yes.
used to be in that corner.
Yeah.
And
What
what
was
was
it?
the other one?
EB Games, was it Funko Land?
Funko Land. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why did those go away? Because GameStop bought them out, or they just
Yeah.
didn't get enough business?
GameStop gobbled them up and then rebranded them
And
as GameStops.
they ruined it.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about that, you think about the irony of that is that a company gobbles up two, for lack of a better word, dying entities and, pretty much completely oversaturates the market with locations. And then they're kind of wondering like, why is everything so expensive? And it's like, I don't know, because you bought two companies at the same time. And kind of like, and your whole thing was like physical games are here to stay. Physical games are here to stay. I think I remember reading a story that at one point GameStop was pitched what would be essentially what Steam is now. And they didn't go for it because they're like, it'll eviscerate our physical sales.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, something is going to eviscerate your physical sales anyway. Don't you want to be the thing that wouldn't you rather be the
kind
thing
of eliminate your own part of your business?
Yeah, like build the infrastructure. Like to me, it would make, if you think about it, it would make total sense that GameStop would own a digital game store.
Right.
In hindsight, like it would make sense. Like, hey, GameStop, fire up your GameStop client so you can download these games and that games, and you could have synergy between your physical locations and your digital location. It would make all the sense in the world. But of course, whenever this was pitched to them in the early 2000s, they thought, they were like Blockbuster. Like, no, people want to be mailed their movies. They don't want their movies from the internet whenever they want it. No, they want to wait for it to come in the mail. And it was like, okay, okay, I guess, but no, turns out that's not the case at all. People want their stuff whenever they want it.
Right.
Immediate satisfaction, immediate access is what we want. We don't want to wait for stuff.
It's the immediacy for people.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think GameStop really kind of screwed themselves in so many ways.
Yeah. And it's like even the smaller version of the Xbox, I don't know about the PlayStation, I don't recall, but they don't even have a disc reader.
Right. Yeah, the reason you can't recall the name is because no one bought that system. No one bought the Xbox Series S. No one bought it. Yeah, no one bought it. That's all I can really say. But it doesn't have a disc. And then, they did a PS5 digital version. It was a regular version and then digital version. And that digital version, it doesn't have a disc for it. So it's all like if you want to download and you can always, I think both of those, they sell, I know the Xbox Series S and Series X, Seagate makes expansion cards for them that you can plug into them and then extend your hard drive. And I think with both, you can actually go in there and add higher capacity drives if you want to.
That's cool.
So, they're kind of compensating for the idea that people will buy digital games and download them. PlayStation less so. I think their internal hard drive ends up being 600 something gigabytes compared to the Series X.
That was one of the things we were on when it was announced.
Yeah, I'll give my Series X credit. I rarely really have to delete games in order to make game space for other ones, because more than likely you're probably keeping maybe 4 or 5 games that you're interested in anyway. If there's something you're not going to play, you're probably not going to keep it on there. So I haven't really had that problem. PlayStation 5, I've had to delete quite a few installs to make space for other games. And so it is what it is there, But getting into that though, so that kind of transitions into something I wanted to talk about. We're talking about game or business longevity in gaming. And when we did our last level discussing Redfall and Xbox, we were having a discussion. That was before Phil Spencer, head of Xbox, did an interview with Kinda Funny Games. And this interview was a lightning rod.
It was fire.
Because how it comes across in the interview, and especially if you read the words that are somewhat not given it context, it seems like Phil Spencer is kind of saying what he basically said was that we don't see the focus of making good games being able to really shift our position in the console wars. Like, we're not going to make a great game and then all of a sudden 15-20% of people are going to sell their PlayStations to start buying Xboxes. Right. So he's like, in that way, I don't find it to be that much importance.
But that kind of is the case, though.
He sees the differentiator being the services they provide. So xCloud for cloud gaming, and then obviously Xbox Game Pass. Now, kind of like what you were saying and what I said, I think that's a dumb statement.
Yeah.
I think that's blatantly dumb, because you're a games company. You publish games. Those have to have value. If nothing you make that is attached or within your services has value, your service doesn't have value.
Exactly.
So, like, if it's the idea of, we want to make it so that people can play Xbox anywhere, who cares if no one wants to play Xbox? Because you don't have good games.
Exactly.
You don't have good games that distinguish you and make you different. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it's kind of a weird statement. He talked a little bit more about where they're going with those services and kind of like their plan going forward. So I was curious as to if what we could take away from kind of what his statements, that interview, and kind of just what we've been seeing Xbox and Phil Spencer do, of where we think Xbox is going to be in the next gen, in the next 5 to 7 years. What does Xbox look like? Because it's very clear that Xbox, Phil says that we're third place, and we're probably going to stay in third place. And if you look at the numbers, I think the numbers that were kind of like guesstimated, essentially, PlayStation is outselling Xbox about 2.3 to 1 in consoles.
Wow.
And that includes Xbox having the overall cheapest options to get into their platform, right? The Xbox Series S that no one bought is $300, and then the Series X is $500. And I believe the PS5 regular edition is $5, and the digital version is $4. And then obviously I think the Switch is $3, and I think it's been at $300 consistently since it launched.
Yeah, then the OLED's $349. Woo!
And then OLED's $349. So, but Nintendo Switch it's current gen, but essentially it's last gen, right? Xbox Series S is supposed to be it's supposed to be the cheapest option to get into next gen. So what Phil Spencer's, I think, again, people were taking a lot of his words out of context, but at the end of the day, it makes it seem like I'm asking, what is your plan? What is your plan of attack? How do you see yourself advancing and going forward with these games and these services that you're offering?
Right.
Like, is it going to still? I'm assuming there's going to still be a box, right? There's some kind of console.
Right. I think you were saying that, like, it could turn into like Roku. You just plug it into the TV and you can play and whatever.
Yeah.
Which, would be cool. But again, as you're saying, if there's nothing good on it, who's going to buy it?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, like, I think that's maybe where they kind of see themselves maybe eventually going. There were rumors out there that Xbox was working on essentially a dongle-like console that you can take around, plug in, you can play anywhere, and you can get access to Xbox Game Pass games, xCloud games. Okay, cool, great. But the bleep am I going to play on it? What am I going to play on it? There may be a couple of games that I'm playing. Yeah, I'm playing Ni no Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom 2. Yeah, I'm playing a 10-year-old JRPG because it seemed like it might be interesting. But your average person that's not like a gamer that's trying to find some value, like, they would have to buy your dongle. You're not going to sell that for free. Let's say it's like $80. Buy an $80 Xbox dongle, and then I got to pay what, $10 to $15 a month on your service,
right?
And then you're giving me Redfall. That's what you're giving me, or you're giving me Hi-Fi Rush, which isn't a bad game, but it's not a game that most people would get into. It's a very niche game,
Right.
You're giving me what? Like, I mean, Halo Infinite, some single player is pretty good, but like the multiplayer is trash. I think it's why it's so important with them and their current lawsuit, CMA lawsuit with the Activision Blizzard acquisition, because by golly, we can assure ourselves some sales if people are going to buy Call of Duty every year. That's where we can push copies. That's where we can make stuff like that.
That's so milked out.
Yeah, and again, if you're saying that, hey, this is going to be available on other consoles, on other platforms, well, cool. I much rather play it there.
Right.
Right. Like what? I mean, besides the fact that, yeah, you have a fear of losing it. If someone can't live without a gaming experience and they're going somewhere and they can't live without gaming experience, why would they choose, let's say, even an Xbox dongle over just bringing their PlayStation?
Right.
Because I can play COD on my PlayStation, and I can also play God of War, and I can also play Spider-Man, and I can also play Last of Us. Like,
See,
right?
that's what I was gonna say. Like, when you think PlayStation, what do you think? You think of all their amazing games that are only on PlayStation.
Yeah.
When you're thinking Xbox and you just think Game Pass, what does that do?
Exactly.
It's not going to make you want to buy an Xbox.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
what's the point of them buying out? Well, maybe not buying out, but buying all of these companies that make these games, and then just do whatever they do to them that make them bad.
Right. Yeah, I think the hope is that they buy these developers that make these great games because they can make them. They make great games. Xbox doesn't know how to make great games anymore, so we'll buy a bunch of people that know how to make good games, and then help steward them and give them financial backing and hopefully technology backing or technical backing, which it sounds like they didn't end up doing with Redfall. Redfall was working in the Unreal Engine, and I guess the developers didn't have a lot of experience with it, even though Xbox owns another studio called the Coalition that's made a bunch of games in Unreal Engine, and they're really good at it, and they could have offered support, but that discussion wasn't had. Again, it's weird, and the same goes with Nintendo as well. Nintendo has Zelda, and it has Mario, and it has Splatoon, whether you like it or not, and it has Metroid and all these other IPs that I can work with, right? And so it has value there. You can only play Mario on a Nintendo console,
right?
And it has value because they create great games. You can only play Zelda on a Nintendo console because it has value and creates a great game, and it's a great game, But then the other thing that kind of struck me too was that of everyone, Xbox has the least amount of experience developing a play anywhere experience. PlayStation's done mobile, and they
had the Vita and the PSP.
Yeah, and allegedly they're getting back into it. Yeah, Nintendo obviously that's their bread and butter.
That's their supremacy right there.
Yeah, it's mobile, right? You can even Valve with Steam. The Steam Deck is a mobile experience.
Right.
Xbox, where is your mobile experience? Where do you even have any of this?
And the only reason Steam is doing as well as it is because it's Steam.
Yeah.
They have the nice collection of all these games. They have a bunch of good games on Steam. So when you can just go mobile with those games, easy, done deal.
Right. Yeah, I know that there is a Steam, they're calling it a Steam killer, of course, but the Rogue Ally is supposed to basically provide a Steam Deck experience, but with the Windows base, so the Windows operating system as the base. And Microsoft Xbox seems very keen to help support that because they can probably more easily develop or code their games to natively play well on it, as opposed to, I think they've been trying to collaborate with Steam on creating an Xbox Game Pass portal in their Steam OS for their Steam Deck, but it just hasn't worked. So I guess they're pivoting to that. So yeah, I can see them getting on that because, hey, that's one avenue people can play your game anywhere.
Right.
But you're relying on a company that doesn't have a lot of experience in that space, providing a premium good experience that they'll support, and that therefore also calls on you to support it as well. And how you support it is providing a good service, that service having value, and the value coming from the bleeping games.
Yep.
The idea that someone says, I understand, he's right. A bunch of people aren't going to sell their PlayStation 5s or Nintendo Switches and buy an Xbox. And he kind of claimed that the generation that they should have won was the last one, because that's when people started developing their digital libraries. That's when people started buying games online, and people want to hold on to those games as they transition from console to console to console, generation to generation to generation. And I say, yeah, that's true, but using that as a buffer of that's why it's not our main business focus doesn't make sense, because you still need to provide value in a digital space then. Right. So is it what essentially, since everyone's digital game library is on PlayStation, you don't have to worry about putting out great games to also build out and buffer your digital library?
Yeah, so they've caused this fire, and instead of putting water on it, they just put more fire on it and just said, screw it.
Yeah.
That's not how you solve the problem.
Or essentially it's almost like a fire started, and rather than trying to put it out, they just like, okay, well, we'll move someplace else, and did nothing about the fire. Right. And then said, well, the reason we're starting over is because there's a fire over there. It's like, well, yeah, you could do something about it to help reserve where you've been building your home, but you're choosing not to. You're choosing just to pack up and go. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can do something about it. The idea that you can't recover because you lost the last gen because of digital game libraries. You want to know why you also lost the last gen? You didn't make great games, buddy. It's the same. It's a cyclical thing.
Right. Like, what hooked people on Xbox in the first place?
Crackdown 3.
Sure.
That's what you did last gen, buddy. That's what you did last gen. Freaking PlayStation's out there putting Ghost of Tsushima out there, and you're sitting there putting out Crackdown 3. That's the difference. And that's what people are building their library with. They're out there, you're up here putting out, I don't know what Halo 5 Guardians. Meanwhile, freaking PlayStation's got Bloodborne. What are you talking about? It's like saying this weakness is what got us in a failed position, so therefore we will continue to lean into that weakness, rather than trying to make it, if not a strength, at least not a weakness anymore. And all that requires you to do is, as a games company, make good games.
Like, when the original Xbox came out, people went to it because of the awesome game that was coming out with it. You know, the Halo,
right,
and stuff like that.
Right.
It really brought in people. If they're afraid of competing with PlayStation on any kind of level, why even try anyways?
Exactly. And that's why I feel like if this Roku idea doesn't happen, which I believe it will, it does not, I believe. So let me back up here. Part of the reason that I've liked Xbox, going back to the original Xbox, they had all the stuff about it, right? It was the Xbox. It was the Extreme box. This is for the extreme gamer. Look at the tech that's in it. I've always kind of felt in some ways that Xbox was the spiritual successor of Sega as far as a console maker. And as we move forward, I feel like Xbox is following Sega in kind. And what I mean by that is, I would not be surprised if 10 to 12 years from now, Xbox is completely out of the hardware game. And they're just a software publisher. They're just a Sega. And some other company that is able to embrace and innovate on mobile and other experiences, that they kind of jump into the fray of that, of where Xbox once was. I think that PlayStation and Nintendo will always be there, but I feel like Xbox is going the way of Sega. It feels that way. They feel kind of like they're wandering in the desert a bit, and, you know, kind of like coming up with these strategies of, yeah, Game Pass is going to work. We'll provide a subscription service that doesn't have any value, you know. And a cautionary tale of that, look at what's happening to Netflix right now. Netflix has increasingly offered diminishing returns, and people are leaving the platform.
Yep.
So having something like that will only last as long as people feel like they're getting value from it. Look at all the other streaming services, Paramount, HBO. These streaming services, by and large, lose money. They don't make money; they lose money.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be able to kind of play the long game with that and invest into that. And then the other thing you're doing is xCloud, cloud gaming. Well, the biggest investor and player into cloud gaming was Google, and we know that Google kind of,
I was
half,
gonna say that. I was gonna compare it to Stadia.
yeah,
Like, look how well that went.
we know they half butted it to some extent, to put it that way, but still, I think that shows that cloud gaming is still very niche. There's a cloud gaming like Shadow and other places like that can offer that or provide that, but it seems like by and large, cloud gaming isn't really gripping people the way they want. So it feels like you got a bunch of money in two failing ventures, and in either of those ventures, the thing that core thing to driving value is if people perceive value, and how they perceive that value is what they get from those services, and what they want from those services are good to great games. It travels
It's hand
all
in
the
hand.
way back. It's hand in hand. The idea that a gaming company is saying that creating great games in no way really kind of in no effective way helps them with market share and building the notoriety and different things like that is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. Right? He talked about them losing the last gen. I kind of made that statement before. Half of the last gen for Nintendo was the Wii U. That thing was a disaster.
Yeah,
Are you
I
telling
knew
me
like
that
one person with that.
you're telling me that it was much better aimed and able to pivot from the Wii U to the Switch than you are from the Xbox One to the Xbox Series? That's strange, man. I mean, I understand you had what is it, the Maverick dude they came out with the Xbox. They're talking about, oh yeah, you can use like a DVR. And I understand that people are like, well, what? No, your Xbox. I'm supposed to use it as a game console. No, yeah, but you can also use it as a DVR in a cable box. It's like, what are you talking about?
No one is gonna use that.
They just can't. They can't read the leaves well. It seems like they just can't read things well, and they're borrowing from other industries and saying, hey, let's utilize this. Let's think about this, and it's just not working. So I feel like in 10 to 12 years, we're talking about Xbox as a game developer or as a very, very diminished hardware. Maybe it becomes like a boutique thing. And I know it's crazy to say because the game is backed by Microsoft, which is a huge freaking company. But
Right.
Microsoft right now has expressed concerns about the financial viability of Xbox. It's not making the money. So
I wonder why.
exactly.
But I have a question. If you know, what happened to Sega? Because I haven't heard anybody diss the Dreamcast. That was their last console.
Yeah, it was just a matter of like, well, the Dreamcast have a soft place in my heart, the Dreamcast. But if you compare it to the other consoles that were out there, it just didn't
It
deliver
didn't sell.
as good of an experience. And also,
Okay.
it kind of goes back to it. It had some games, but it didn't have the greatest library of games. And the Sega Dreamcast, I believe the Sega Dreamcast was going up against the original PlayStation. You're going to lose that fight 10
That's a
times out of
hard
10.
fight. Yeah.
That's a hard fight.
Ugh.
So
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah. I feel like, Microsoft and Sega back in the day, they had collaborated on things in the past. I feel like the Duke, the original Xbox, that big original Xbox controller, I see a lot of the design of it being inspired by the Sega Dreamcast controller. I've always felt like Xbox has kind of been the spiritual successor of Sega. And, now I'm seeing it now. I see them kind of following almost the same way. Maybe not as much of a fall. I still believe that even Xbox as a publisher would be bigger. It would be like a bigger Activision, right? It'd just be like this huge monolithic publisher with all these different titles and stuff like that. But yeah, if you're talking about expanding your install base, you see Xbox Game Pass. I see Xbox Game Pass maybe coming to Nintendo platform, maybe, but you see it coming to PlayStation. You think PlayStation is going to let Xbox game? How are you? It doesn't make any sense, right? And then it kind of counters something else they've been doing with their exclusives, which was something else I was kind of mentioning. If you can't gain market share or share of the market by creating consoles, getting people to come over, and then why are you doing exclusives? Why is Redfall an Xbox Microsoft exclusive? Why wouldn't you expand it to PlayStation and Nintendo so you can rip off the millions of people that have that console too? You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't make any sense. Like Starfield. Starfield would bonker numbers on PlayStation and Nintendo. Especially PlayStation would do bonker numbers. You're talking about a No Man's Sky-ish type game developed by Bethesda, the same people that did Skyrim. It would
Right.
do gangbusters.
It has such a
Why is it
following.
exclusive then? Why is
If
it
you're
exclusive?
if you're not worried about games being your top priority, yeah, why is there exclusive on an
Yeah.
Xbox then?
Just make this thing just make it a third-party release. Cap it at $70, do your $70 release, and just rake in money, bro. Just rake it in. What are you doing? That's why that whole idea kind of feels like a disservice, because it's like you're saying your strategy is one thing, but then you have this kind of operation or mode of doing this over here that feels like it's the complete opposite. They clash with each other.
Exactly.
If your console's not going to gain you market share, and you don't think that creating good games exclusively for your platform provides any value to like gain more customers, then just make your games that everybody's anticipating, just make them, available for every console. Grab the 30 something million people on PlayStation, grab the 100 something million people on Nintendo Switch, like get them. Why are you just sticking it to the 18 to 19 million people that have Xbox consoles? Doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. If they're just in it for the money, which I get, business, that would be the way to do it.
Right. That's what I think.
But if they want people to just have it on their console, you need more of a reason than just,
Exactly.
hey, look at all these games that you have to pay $10 to $15 a month for. Like personally, being the gamer that I am, I'd rather spend the $60, $70 on the one game and call it a day, because that's
Right.
all I'm gonna play.
Mm-hmm.
If I play it for a year on Game Pass, that's $120, $160.
Right.
When I could have just spent 60.
Right. Yeah,
So
it's true.
their plan isn't gonna work for every person out there anyways.
Right. Now, I mean, the strategy of that behind that, right, is that you just don't get that game, and that game's a great experience. It gives you value, but then they release another game that you can only get on Xbox Game Pass, and that gives you a great experience and great value, right? That's the idea. What's wrong is they ain't doing that. Their games blow. And what's happening is that what people are doing is, exactly. And what they're doing is they're finding value in kind of like the smaller games that people don't have to take, a risk of having to pay for and getting enjoyment out of that. And that's what's, kind of like getting some of the staying power behind Xbox Game Pass. But to some extent, it's almost better you can just go buy them. Like, you think I have Xbox Live or Xbox Game Pass for Vampire Survivors? No, it's like $5 on Steam. I can just buy it for $5 on Steam.
Exactly.
Like I'm not keeping it for that. I'm keeping it because I'm hoping that Redfall is going to be good. I'm hoping that Starfield's going to be great. I'm hoping that Hellblade's going to be great. That Fable's going to be great, right? Like I'm hoping for those things. And the more it becomes a expectation that those aren't good experiences, the less and less value it has. Trying to sling Game Pass's value, it's nowhere near as valuable as we thought it was a year ago, a year and a half ago. It just isn't. They got to work on making it that valuable.
I agree. Because sure, they could have these, big releases. I remember, Back for Blood, first day release, Game Pass, but that's because it was sought after for a very long time. Everyone expected it to be a great game. So yeah, they might have thrown the $10, $15 for Game Pass that month.
Right.
But where's the next game for the next month to stay on there?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're saying, one game, two games isn't gonna hook somebody onto their Game Pass system for months on end.
Exactly. Yeah.
There needs future build up.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. So I mean, it's kind of like the thought mystery of what Xbox is going to be going forward. I kind of don't know. I think they're going to kind of go, like I said, the Roku route, because that's like something that's kind of, I mean, not like dismissive, but it's kind of, it's novel enough to where people will maybe be willing to spend money on something like that and try it out and maybe find value in using it and like, a vacation, or they're going someplace and they still want to be able to play some Xbox games or something, right? But besides that, I really don't know what the play is. I really don't know.
It is mind-boggling.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, that's kind of all I really had for the topic.
Yeah,
So
it's very confusing topic.
Very confusing.
But
that's going to lead us to final thoughts, where each of us make a final thought about something that can be related or unrelated to the podcast episode. So, I've kind of babbled for a while. David, did you want to give your final thought first?
Sure. My final thought is I'm very confused about my setup. I have the nice mic and the audio box and everything like that. Some days it works great.
Mm-hmm.
Some days it gives feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why, because I don't touch it except for when I move the mic to record.
Yeah.
That's my final thought. I'm so flabbergasted about it.
It's quite interesting what appears to be the civil war between your audio setup and your computer.
Yeah. I don't get it.
Sometimes it seems like they call truces and everything's perfectly fine, but other times it seems like
bad.
Sometimes, yeah, exactly. Let's see here. My final thought is Darkest Dungeon 2 came out, was recently released, I believe maybe a week or so ago, and I have interest. It seems like they added a lot of things to it, so I have interest in it, but I'm unsure if I'm going to pull the trigger when buying it. It's $40, which isn't really that much compared to a game that probably gives you as much as it does, but it is a brutal, gut-wrenching game.
Is that pretty much we played before?
Yeah, pretty much everyone dies. Yeah, it's just kind of it's brutal.
It's like brutal. A side scroller kind of thing or whatever. Yeah, okay.
You're kind of moving left to right. It has like the gothic, dark kind of graphic, like art style to it. Like it's beautiful, But yeah, don't know. It's not on sale either. $40. There's some games I have in my queue that are on sale, but not that one, so I have to think about it.
It's a toughie.
Yeah. But that is it for level 63 of the Thoughts of Players podcast. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe to us on all the platform services, or at least the ones you use, right? Also, you can follow us on the socials. We are on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Thoughts and Players, like it's all one word. I also realized earlier that I usually say W instead of W. I don't know what that means. You can
Are you evolving?
I don't know. You can also like and follow the podcast on other socials, like our Instagram at Thoughts.Players, our TikTok at Thoughts Players, the YouTube at Thoughts Players, where we upload video versions of the podcast. We're also on the Twitter at Thoughts Player 2. And, of course, we got a Patreon. If you're digging what your boys is doing and you want to support, head on over to the Patreon. We have a $2, $5, and $7 tier called the Thinker, the Player, and the All-Around Slayer. Don't know which one you feel like being.
I love those names. Those names.
Yeah, you got to check it out, though.
You did so well.
We offer a bunch of different goodies, different perks and stuff like that for each tier. So make sure you check that out. But that is it for me. David, is there anything else you'd like to say?
Peace.
Peace. We'll catch you on the next level.